I may not look it, but I actually watch quite a bit of anime. Weeb alert! Weeb alert! We've got a weeb over here! I counter your insult with yeah. Guess who looks silly now? I'm stealing this idea from PewDiePie, who I believe stole it from someone else, so it's a bit of a double steal here. But basically, we have this giant square that's divided into 9 smaller squares, and we'll be filling each box with something. And I just thought it would be cool to pick out 9 of my favorite anime and make my own little anime 3x3. Now, just because these are my favorite anime doesn't necessarily mean that they're the best anime. Well, we'll talk more about that later, but for right now, what do I want to start with? Well, let's start it off easy. Let's just start this off with my favorite anime of all time. You guys aren't gonna be able to guess what it is. And yes, it is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I know, very typical, very boring answer, but there is a reason why it's at the top of my anime list. I mean, the story itself is just so perfectly crafted. Let's fit that in there. Yep, we're gonna do a bit of that. Looking great. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood really is just everything. It's a well-crafted, well-thought-out story with a bunch of relatable and meaningful themes woven throughout. The characters, for the most part, are incredibly likable. It's funny, it's smart, the world building is really strong. The lore behind everything going on in it is really interesting. It's just a really good anime. It's one of those anime that I know a lot of people love, but it gets a lot of slack just because it is one of those typical shonen anime, but it's a really good one. I used to watch just a lot of Naruto. I was like, oh yeah, this anime is awesome. And then I started watching this on the recommendation of my brother, and this just blew me away. This is my favorite anime, and I don't care what anyone says. With that said, let's go to my second favorite anime, FLCL, otherwise known as Fooly Cooly. This anime right here. This is it. This is one of the most unique anime or just television experiences that you will get. It doesn't overstay its welcome at all. It's only 6 episodes long, and each episode is just densely packed with action. Though it is a really short series, a lot happens throughout it, and it's just a nice buildings roman about this kid, what's his name again? Noda, however you pronounce that. It's about this kid, Noda, whose brother goes off to the United States to play baseball, and he's just kind of dealing with growing up on his own and trying to kind of just find himself, especially when he's just living in his brother's shadow. And then it just gets bonkers. It just gets wild. And then this girl comes in on a Vespa, slaps him with a guitar, bam! And then suddenly robots start growing out of his forehead. It's wild, but somehow, even with all the craziness, it manages to develop some relatable themes, and the soundtrack, not to mention, the soundtrack is banging. It's such a good series. I highly recommend it. I've definitely shown this to quite a few people, and not many people, if any at all, that I've shown it to seem to jive with it the same way I do, but it's really short. If you're looking for an anime to watch, this is just 6 episodes. I think it's on Hulu. It'll go by really quick. You can bust it out in literally like 2, maybe 3 hours. It's not long at all, and I think it'll blow your mind, I think. I genuinely think so. We're only 2 in, and I already feel like I'm done. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna have to put this one in, even though it's not necessarily a favorite of mine. Naruto. I have a love-hate relationship with this anime. I watched a ton of it growing up. It was one of the earliest, if not the first anime that I ever watched. Me and my family took a trip to the Philippines when I was in 2nd grade, and they would actually play this during the daytime on like Cartoon Network, and I would watch it all the time, and I enjoyed it. But now that I'm older and kind of have better taste, Naruto just isn't a very good show. I'm gonna say it. The fight scenes are really good for the most part, but the characters aren't very likable. It's filled to the brim with filler, whether it is full-on filler episodes or just constant flashbacks. I think what really carries the show is the relationships between the characters, not necessarily the characters themselves, because most of the characters are just annoying, but the relationships between them are really cool to see develop over the course of the story. So Naruto, it's not a good anime. All right, I'm sorry. I know it's very beloved. It's fun, it's nostalgic, but you just can't objectively say that it's good. All right, next one. I know what to put next. This one is a trip. I mean, how could I not put this one in? Cowboy Bebop. Probably one of the most legendary anime in existence, and for good reason. It's an interesting one because each show or each episode is an individual adventure, but it all contributes to this overall narrative that is very subtly interwoven between the episodes. But what makes it so engaging is that each episode seems to contribute to the background of each character. With each episode, you learn so much about each character's mysterious past, and each one is so interesting. Spike, the main character, is probably one of the most badass characters in any television show ever. And of course, Jet, Faye, Ein, and Edward, I think. They're all interesting characters in their own right. And do not even get me started on the soundtrack. Do 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 do. Oh yeah, that's some good stuff. Do 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 do. I mean, you just want to go on a space adventure after that opening theme. My God, Cowboy Bebop. Very easily deserving of its spot on my 9x9. Well, while we are in this decade, I might as well put this one on here too. Of course, Neon Genesis Evangelion has to be on here. I mean, that's just an of course. Sometimes I don't understand how this anime got to be as beloved as it got. I don't necessarily even understand why I like it so much. I mean, similarly to Naruto, all of the characters suck. Shinji, our main character here, is a weak, scared little brat in the beginning. The first episode is almost painful to get through, all because of his attitude. Asuka is a stuck-up little brat, and Rei, not so much a brat, but she still has her issues. The only super likable character in this show is Misato. She's super laid back and, okay, all right, I didn't need that in my life. So yeah, 90% of the characters are really annoying, but the story and the way it develops, it starts off a semi-standard mecha anime, but it turns into so much more. The show takes a very psychological turn, where instead of focusing on the action and the plot of humanity being threatened by these beings called angels, instead it focuses more on the characters, their trauma, and just how they got to be the way they are. So, no, now that I think about it, even though the characters are very annoying at times, the show actually uses that to its advantage by showing you how they got to be the way they are and how it affects what they're doing now. I watch it every year, or at least every other year, just because I can't appreciate what it's done, and it touches on subjects that many other animes don't really touch on at all, or if they do, it looks at it in a very different way than most other animes. And similarly to Cowboy Bebop, let's not forget how iconic the opening to Neon Genesis is. A Cruel Angel's Thesis is probably my favorite anime opening of all time. In fact, I used it for my tattoo vlog just because it's so much fun. Ooh. Do. Here's another one I'm sure you saw coming. Attack on Titan. This show is so good, so well done. I mean, Attack on Titan just hits different than any other show. I can respect it just for its sheer willingness to kill off characters that you love. Spoiler alert, because this is a very important moment in the series and probably one of the most traumatic moments. In the first season, Eren gets to join Levi's squad. You know, they all do their missions together, of course, but then a female Titan attacks, and the whole squad tells Eren to run away so that the female Titan doesn't catch him, because the female Titan is after him specifically. So he runs off. Squad Levi is supposedly the most skilled squad in the Scouts regiment, but then you just immediately see them all get wiped out in one sitting, and it's like, man, you just get to know the characters too. You just get to care about them, and then they're gone. And there's so many more moments like that throughout the series where you don't know if they're going to kill off a character. With most other series, whether it's anime or in any TV series really, if you see a character in a dire situation, especially an important character, you kind of expect them to survive anyway, and most of the time they do. There's a few exceptions, of course, but for the most part, you don't have to worry about main characters dying. But with Attack on Titan, man, you are on the edge of your seat the entire time because you don't know if they're going to kill off a character. And oftentimes they do kill off characters. It is very traumatic, but a very well done show. All right, this is the part where I'm gonna start to struggle. Oh, yeah. Of course, how could I forget? Death Note. One of the smartest animes I've seen. Just the way the show carries itself is really smart. You know, you have two opposing forces. Light Yagami, who wants to bring justice to the world simply by killing off criminals for whatever offense they may commit. And while it is a morally wrong idea, it's not necessarily a bad idea. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to say that Light was in the right. Like, his reasoning made sense, and in the show, another spoiler alert, but this one's not as significant, but in the show, it shows off how his methods did work. It's just very morally questionable. But on the other hand, he is opposed by this interesting character on the police force who goes by L. And while L doesn't necessarily know for sure that Light is the killer, Kira, he does suspect Light throughout the series. So you have these two characters who are in contact with each other, essentially know who each other are, and throughout the series, these two characters are just trying to have a gotcha moment where Light is trying to figure out L's real name so that he can kill him, and L is suspecting of Light and is just trying to prove that he's Kira. It's a very interesting dynamic that you don't see in many shows. Kill la kill. This show is so absurd. First of all, the animation style is so unique. Everything down to the colors they use, just how flashy it is all the time. It starts off as this story of revenge. Our main character, she is trying to find her father's killer. She has a sword that looks like a scissor, half a scissor rather, and she's trying to find the killer who supposedly has the other half. And I don't want to spoil anything. I really don't. If you haven't seen it, it's magnificent. At first, you see it, and it just kind of looks like a raunchy anime that solely exists for fan service. But I don't know how they do it, but somehow they turn the fan service of the show, all the very near nudity, into a plot. All right, you gotta give it time. For the first few episodes, you're either gonna be like, what is this? This is so superficial and borderline misogynistic, or you're gonna be drooling at the mouth. You just gotta give it some time, and it develops into this actually really interesting story. It's just such a unique anime. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Trust me, just hear me out. It turns into something so much more. It's such a special show. Okay. What goes in the last spot? Devilman Crybaby is one that is distributed by Netflix. And I didn't know what to expect going into it, but it turned out to be another really unique experience. The animation style is very stripped down. It's not super duper detailed. It is very cartoony, very almost off-putting, I would say. But I think it works really, really well. I know Devilman is a whole franchise on its own. And while I haven't watched any other Devilman series, I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that Devilman Crybaby is not like any other Devilman show. It's very mature, very, very mature. And okay, I'm gonna have to give a significant spoiler alert, so please stop watching this video if you haven't watched this show, because it is really good. It's one of those shows where the hero doesn't win at the end, the villain actually succeeds. It's one of the most tragic anime you can watch. The way it develops, the way you see the world go so downhill so quickly, it's tragic. That's the only way I can describe it. It's a lot. It is a lot. It's weird, it's strange, it's off-putting at times, very mature, but like any other show on here, I would say it is very unique and a very worthwhile experience. There's not much else I can say on that. So yeah, this is my anime 3x3. I think it's good. I like it. I'm happy with it. Let me know what you think of it. If you like some of the shows that I put on here, if you don't like some of the shows I put on here, let me know what you would have put on yours. I'd love to see what other people are watching. Maybe I'll come across something new that I haven't watched that I can get around to. And yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button and subscribe. Only a third of you watching right now are subscribed, so you better subscribe, because I know. As always, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.